Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson is a show about the journey of motherhood. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. And when I became aware of Allison Bernstein, the founder of the Suburban Jungle Group, I thought I have to have her on the show because from a personal standpoint, I would consider myself more of a city girl. I grew up in the suburbs, but I've lived in New York City for quite a while now. And I'm at the point where I have a 2-year-old, an almost 2-year-old, and one on the way. And my husband got a job in the suburbs. And so we're moving, and Allison specializes in just that. She is the founder of the Suburban Jungle Group, the first ever relocation firm dedicated exclusively to helping families move from the city to the suburbs with a town-first approach. Hi, Allison. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, and I'm thrilled to be here.
So tell me, what is Suburban Jungle?
Sure. The Suburban Jungle is a free real estate service, which really takes a combination of research, technology, and, of course, the personalized know-how to help you really find the perfect suburb.
Which is so important because I have to tell you, my husband just got a job in Connecticut, and it's not the part of Connecticut that I'd always thought about. It's more in the middle of the state. And when I started learning more about the different areas and seeing the homes, I was like, this is not really what I expected. But we were under a deadline because we do have another child coming. So we decided to just rent for a year in this certain neighborhood. But I question whether this particular neighborhood is right for us. So that's where you come in, because you do mostly, you stress that the town is important more so than your dream home.
Absolutely. The town is by far, the town, meaning the community, is by far the most important decision that you will make. It's especially when you're talking about raising your children. When you think about the aspects of, your life is really outside the home. Of course, you use your home, you live in your home, but most of everything else takes part outside of that home in the community. So the way your kids are being raised is really the key decision maker is the community, not the house itself.
Right, exactly. So you said that there is no charge to work with Suburban Jungle?
Yes, exactly. It's completely free. In the world of real estate, anyone who is on the buy side of a transaction never pays a fee. The seller of the home, whichever you purchase, if in fact you do purchase, always ends up paying the fee.
Right. Okay. So how did you come up with this amazing idea, and how long have you been helping families?
Well, the idea came to me while I was at Columbia Business School and simultaneously expecting our first child. And, we were discussing the decision of, how do we want to raise this family that we're starting? Is it urban versus suburban? And we found that there was no truly objective resource to help us make those decisions. What we were dealing with was, Googling, best schools or best towns or great commute, but not really understanding, where we should be looking. More importantly, we didn't really understand the questions to be asking. This is a huge decision, and there was really no service out there that really was able to come up with a great game plan for us, a strategy, but also provide truly untainted, objective advice. Agents are always, they're trying to sell you a home. They're trying to sell you a town, but nobody really had that true overall perspective of, and again, I'll use New York as an example, but looking at from the city, you can live in over 500 towns, whether it's New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island. Nobody really was able to piece that together. And so the business was created.
Right, which I think is brilliant, because my experience working with realtors as well was, like you said, selling you a home, maybe selling you a town, and I felt lost. I still felt lost, and I felt like I didn't really know where we should be moving. So can you walk me through the process of how a family will work with you and your team?
Absolutely. So the first step is to schedule an initial strategy session. You can do this online on our website. It's super easy. And we typically like to use the format of a conference call just because, everybody's very busy all over the place. And we usually love to have both parties, whether it's husband, wife, partners, whoever, on the call, just so we can really get to know a ton about your family's background, not only where you're coming from, how you grew up, what's really important, but what we call really the true intangibles of the journey. And so when you have your initial call, it's with your personal strategist. And this is somebody who, again, is not an agent, who is completely objective and who has trained in every aspect in every potential town that you can potentially move to. And again, I'll use New York as an example. There are 500 towns, like I mentioned. The strategist that you work with will have specific details on every option for you all across the different areas, Westchester, Connecticut, Long Island, New Jersey, the details of the schools, the commute, but more importantly, again, the community itself, who lives there, to the point of stay-at-home moms versus working moms, just a type A personality, school districts, every aspect. So by speaking to this one strategist who has been really, like I mentioned, trained for months and is completely objective and not an agent, you will, in essence, be able to examine all possible options. And it's a really huge time saver, and it saves you a ton of research. But ultimately, again, what happens after the initial call, so you'll speak to the strategist, and then within minutes, if not on the call or a little bit after, they'll send you a home search strategy, which you'll receive directly to your inbox. And again, during the call, they're really working with you to figure out not only specifically where you should be looking, or, it really is more about making sure that you're looking in the right places, and again, more importantly, asking the right questions. And there are so many of those details. So you'll receive a home search strategy into your inbox. Again, you can download our app and you can use it on the app as well, but your personalized dashboard will have all of our recommendations, which again are personal to you and your family, as well as information about the towns that we recommend and your ability to schedule those tours. So everything is at your fingertips within 45 minutes, which, or a half hour, however long your call is.
Right. That's great. And I have to ask you, because whether it's New York City or any other city around the country, for those who have been living in the city for a while, when do you think is the right time for a family to actually get up and leave the city and move to the suburbs?
That's a great question. There really isn't like an exact science to the timing. What we always explain to people is that sort of that sweet spot is you really want to have like your first child in the city. It's just easier, more social, and it's a great time to be in the city with a young baby. And, a lot of people use that kindergarten cutoff as a time to really say, this is by the time our kid gets into kindergarten, we have to move. But we love the move during preschool years, because the preschool years are a great way to integrate into community. You make friends it's a simpler way to integrate, because play dates are not drop off. You're still dropping off at preschool. You're very involved in your child's life. And it's just a great way to meet other families in the town. Whereas if you wait till kindergarten, sometimes there are buses, play dates are not, stay with your kid. It's more drop off. So it's just an easier time to move. But ultimately, it's a personalized decision, and it's not the perfect decision for everybody. So keep in mind, what we do is really think about, is the right answer for you and your family, in fact, leaving the city? Or can it be tweaked? Can we help you, in fact, live in the city? So we're all about lifestyle, not just, get you out to the suburbs.
Got it. Okay. And which cities do you focus on right now?
So we launched in New York. And again, the Suburban Jungle's original model was here in New York City. We have recently launched Urban Jungle, which is for people that stay in the urban environment for Urban Jungle. And then we have, over the last couple of years, launched offices in San Francisco, LA, Chicago, Boston, Dallas, DC, and the Hamptons.
Terrific. It's so helpful. And, I'm just curious, what are some questions? I know you covered a lot of them, but what should families be asking themselves when looking at different towns to consider?
There's so many, but I'll just leave you with one or two. One is, think about childcare. That is something that is completely overlooked. The real estate model is always about bedrooms, bathrooms, but when you think about moving, a big part of your decision should be the type of childcare a particular town has. Is it au pairs, live-in nannies? How does that affect how you're working? Are you both working parents? Are you stay-at-home moms? So making that decision, understanding the childcare situation of a particular town, or childcare personality, as we call it, is super critical. A lot of people, one other quick thing is like downtown. People love towns. It makes them feel very comfortable, especially coming from an urban environment. But again, thinking about the town and proximity, how is that really going to impact your day to day? And how you live is a critical component, because it opens up so many additional options when you kind of take the necessity for having the best downtown a few blocks from your home.
Right, exactly. I agree with you. And I'm definitely going to give you a call because when this year is up for my lease, I think we need to I already know we need to probably move to a new neighborhood. So where can listeners go to find more information if they're interested in setting up a call or filling out a questionnaire?
The easiest place to go would be, of course, our site, which is suburbanjunglegroup.com.
Terrific. Allison Bernstein, thank you so much for joining me today. So helpful if you are contemplating a move from the city to the suburbs, or even if you just want to stay in the city. It's always nice to find out what more can I be doing? What neighborhoods should I be living in? I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy, and don't forget you can follow us on social, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Passport Mommy, and you can head to my website, passportmommy.com, to hear this show and any other show in previous weeks that you may have missed. More coming up in just a few.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson is a show about the journey of motherhood. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Part of being a mom is hearing these heartwarming stories, and there's so much stress day in and day out of just everything we need to do as parents. And so when I heard this story about Patch and his mom, Lindsey, I thought we have to have them on the show because I would love for them to tell everybody else what happened and how they got involved with Ford Motor Company and just hear a little bit more about this adorable boy, Patch, who is 6 years old. Hi, Lindsey, Hurty. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having us.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about your son, Patch, and what his passion is.
Well, Patch is such a special kid. Obviously I'm biased, but I'm a huge fan of his. And he has loved cars since he was one. It's in his DNA, I think. And when other kids were sort of switching on to other passions, his car passion only grew. And about a year and a half ago, I was on a walk near our house, and I saw a Ford emblem badge on the side of the road that had fallen off of a car that had clearly been in an accident. And I picked it up thinking, oh my gosh, Patch will love this. And I brought it home to him, and nothing could have been a greater present to give to him. I mean, he took this as pure treasure, and it was right as he was beginning kindergarten, and he was starting to learn to read, and it wasn't coming that easily, and he wasn't enjoying it. But when we would wait at the bus stop for his big sister, where we live on a really busy road, he would see all of the Ford emblems on cars and shout, "Ford, Ford," everywhere. He saw them. And he started then recognizing other cars, BMW or Subaru. And my thought was, this is my in. You know, I'm a former teacher, and I thought this is how we're going to be able to inspire him to be excited about reading. And so we just started this project where we went around and took pictures of all of the different car badges we could find in like the library parking lot or at the beach parking lot, things like that, and to make a little flip book of our own. And it turned into him wanting to write letters to all of these companies because in his sweet mind, he thought, well, maybe they have leftover emblems on their factory floors that they don't need anymore and that they might send me. And he put a little coin from his allowance, and he wrote a letter that I typed out on his behalf, and he signed them himself. And that became a very fun project for us all around his passion. And within a week of sending out the first letter, he started getting letters and packages back from these major car companies.
That's so nice. That's so great to hear that they were just as enthused about it as he was.
Yes, and they were so supportive of him keeping his passion alive, and some of them were really cute. Like Tesla sent back the coin and said, you know, you might need this for your Tesla someday. And you know, some other companies did similar things like that. And it just ended up getting attention. An article was written about it that was posted in Popular Mechanics. And then that got unbelievable attention from car enthusiasts. And since that article was published in January, Patch has been receiving letters and packages from so many people who just have loved cars their whole life and saw something in him that they recognized in themselves and have wanted to send him special things from their own collections and letters about their careers in the automotive industry. And one of those people was this man named Jamie Cauliflower, who works in the badge department at Ford in Dearborn, Michigan.
Right.
And he reached out, and that then created this whole incredible opportunity for me and Patch to fly to Michigan last week and experience this epic day at Ford, where they showed him so many aspects of how it all comes together, from the design elements to the actual factories. They took him into a truck factory. They took him into a separate factory that actually just creates the badges, which he loved, and they let him actually help operating some of that machinery that wasn't too dangerous. And then back to the Ford World headquarters, where we were surprised by Henry Ford III, who introduced himself to Patch and gave him the most generous gift of this Hot Wheels Mustang.
Oh, that's awesome. And now let me ask you, because we only have like a little more than a minute left. So you gave him this Hot Wheels Mustang. Did he say, okay, and in another, 15 years or 10 years, I'll have another car waiting for you?
Well, no, he didn't say that. But you know what? I think that in Patch, they have a loyal Ford fan for the rest of his life, because, it was just, the whole experience was something that he was just so lucky, so very lucky to have that experience.
Absolutely. So is Patch there? Can I talk to him real quickly?
Patch, Michelle would like to talk to you.
Hi.
Hi. So what was your experience like going to Ford?
Whoa, I can't believe they're doing this so much for me.
Oh, that is...
I met Henry Ford III. I got to see how they made pickups, and they can make, and in 33 seconds, a Ford pickup will be ready for somebody to buy.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And more information than probably most of us will learn in our life about cars. Patch, thank you so much for joining me today. Lindsey, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson is a show about the journey of motherhood. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
And I am thrilled to have my next guest, Shira Averbuch, on the show, because Shira is an amazing performer, but I did not know half of what kind of performer she was. I met Shira through my daughter's little music class that she takes on Friday mornings, which she absolutely loves, and I've personally enjoyed quite a bit. But then I ran into Shira at the New York Toy Fair recently and learned all about her career. Hi, Shira. Thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure. Hi.
Hi. So tell me a little bit about your background and your career. I know that you are a New York-based international performer and songwriter. You were born in Rochester, New York, to Israeli parents, and you've split your time growing up between Israel and the States. You've performed all over the world in various productions, ranging from musical theater to your original indie folk acoustic music. Tell me what your career has been like after your service in the Israeli Army Band.
It's funny, I was trying to put a bio for you, and I realized, wow, this is kind of a lot of things, a lot of very different things that I've been doing, and I'm sure my upbringing had a part in it. So I was in the Israeli Army Band for 2 years, which was an incredible experience and made me really value making music for people. So I do it in a lot of ways. When I was in college, I studied music and theater and music therapy as well. So I worked at Beth Israel Hospital for a bit, and then that's how I started working with kids, and got into that, and then started my own thing, which is what you, Michelle, and your daughter are in on Friday mornings, and introducing music to really young kids, and using that as a form of communication between the baby and the parent, and as a community, and as like a first language for a child. I found that to be the best way to communicate. And I also write my own music and produce. I'm very much do-it-yourself sort of artist, and I'm about to record my second album now, next week.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, you have a tour coming up, and you are aligned with a ukulele company. Tell me how that came about.
Yeah, that's when I saw you at the toy fair. It was really cool. I started, when I started accompanying myself, I started playing piano when I was a kid, but I never really liked it, and it took me a while to find an instrument that I actually enjoyed playing when I was accompanying myself, because I'm mostly a singer. And then I found the ukulele, and it's just like this magical instrument that's so easy to play and write songs on, and accessible for kids too, but also for adults. Or maybe I'm a little bit of a kid, I don't know. Probably.
We all are.
Yeah, right. And recently, just at the toy fair, we officially started working together, me and Kala. I've been playing their ukuleles for years, and I reached out, and they were happy to have me, and they officially endorsed me. So it's very exciting. We're working together. So on the tour, our plan is to do a few stops. I'm going to stop at some shops along the way that sell Kala ukuleles, and do a few secret pop-up shows. So keep an eye out. It'll be fun.
Nice. What a treat. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed looking at all of their ukuleles, and I enjoy hearing you play it, because that is the instrument that you use in my daughter's class. And it is an instrument that a lot of music classes for kids utilize. And I think it's such a great instrument because kids can play it as young as, my daughter's not even 2 yet, and she loves playing with the strings. And it's a great introduction to an instrument and to a guitar, and also for us adults. You're absolutely right. So tell me, in addition to this tour, I would love to hear a little bit about the album that you've already recorded, the album that you're about to record, because your music is so beautiful. I was on your website, and one of your newer songs brought me to tears. It's just spectacular.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. So a few years ago, I was cast in an off-Broadway musical called Solitary Light, which was incredible, and it was a great success. And one of the writers was Paul Carbonara, who was Blondie's music director and lead guitar player for 10 years. And I didn't know him until I was cast in the musical, but we had a really special musical connection. And after the musical closed, we started working together, and we recorded my first album together. And now we've been musical partners ever since, and we're recording the second album now together. And at the time, I was writing songs, but I didn't have the courage to really share it with anybody. And he was like, "Oh, stop! You're crazy!" He just heard my songs and wanted to help me put them out there in the world. So it's been a real blessing. The first album had a lot of songs dedicated to a good friend of mine who was battling breast cancer, and she's doing wonderfully now. And
I'm glad to hear.
And the songs got out, and a lot of other cancer survivors and warriors heard them, and I got so much amazing feedback, and I feel like that's the reason we make art,
Yeah, absolutely. Because that music video, Am I Beautiful? It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it hits so many heartstrings, whether you have battled cancer yourself, whether everybody's had somebody they know, whether it's a relative or a close friend who has been through the same type of process. Everybody goes through it differently, but, in the end, I think so many people can relate to that. So kudos to you for that song, because it's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me ask you more about just kids' music education and how important you feel it is to incorporate into a child's life.
Yeah. So when I studied music therapy, and interned at Beth Israel Hospital for a bit. I really worked with all the departments, but one of the departments that they work with is the NICU, and using music as a first communication between the parent and the child, especially in the NICU when you usually can't really touch the child yet. So singing to your child is the best way to communicate. And a lot of parents would always say, oh, I can't sing. And, we would tell them that it doesn't matter, because what the child needs to hear is your song as a parent to your child, And I really encourage that in my class too, that it's not just about, I'm not performing. We're kind of all in this together, in this musical experience, and just opening up, not just the child, but also the parent. And then if the parent is open and playful and musical, then the child will be, in their life. So music is just a tool in that, not just, but a very important tool in my world to experiencing your humanity to the fullest. And when you start at that age, everything's possible, right? So that keeps it open, that feeling of everything's possible. That's how I see it.
I love to sing as well. And I couldn't believe the words that I was singing after my daughter was born. Some made absolutely no sense. And some I was like, where is this coming from? And it was these songs that I just started making up off the top of my head. And I come to find out that a lot of parents do this. And It's just amazing. Yeah. How it just everyday life and being around your child and connecting with them, you find the words, and no matter what they are, no matter the tune, like you said, it is a great way to connect. And I started incorporating that when she was very, very young. And I see the difference that it makes. And I see the difference that bringing her to these young music classes really has made in her life so far.
Yeah, it really makes a difference. It really does. Because like you said, you take it back home with you, It's because you get to be playful in a safe environment with other people. So you're not the only quote unquote weird parent singing to your child. Everybody's doing it together. Everybody's being silly together. Everybody's being musical together. And then you go home, and that makes me so happy to hear. I get so many videos from my parents, and my kids, and showing me that's what they're doing at home. And it's the best thing in the world.
So do you want to give us a preview maybe of what is on your new album?
Ooh, should I play something? Okay. So I'm actually grabbing my new Kala archtop ukulele that they just sent me. And it has a built-in tuner. It has all these things. They also sent me a Kala Waterman, which is see-through. And it's smaller. It's the right size for kids, super durable.
I am looking forward to that. Now, where can people go to find more information on Kala?
Yeah, you can go to kalabrand.com.
Great. And ukuleles in general are pretty inexpensive for the most part, correct?
For sure. I think the Waterman goes for $40. The archtop is a little bit more for pros. That's what I'm going to use in shows. $500, but it's like a wide range, right? So you have ones that you can take anywhere for $40, $50, and they're super durable, and then some that are more professional.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I know they're super durable because the person at the Kala booth banged it against the floor a few times when I said my daughter broke her little toy guitar in half.
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to sing a song called Birds of a Feather. So I was sitting on the subway, and there was this very sweet-looking guy across from me on the subway. And he had huge earphones on, and he was reading a book. And I was waiting for him to lift up his gaze and see me. And he never did. And he just walked off the subway. And I thought to myself, what if he was supposed to see me and he didn't? What if I was supposed to see him and I didn't? And this whole thing was missed. So this is Birds of a Feather.
Great.
What if I was close enough to touch? What if you were everything? I'd have to see you, wouldn't I? You wouldn't miss me walking by, would you? Would you? Maybe I'll wear my fuzzy yellow sleeping on my own. I was never meant to walk alone. Still, I won't settle, wouldn't even try. I'll keep on looking, just don't pass me by. Come find me before the flood. We'll brave the storm together. Birds of a feather, come find me before the flood. We'll brave the storm together. Birds of a
Tell me, where can people go to hear more of your music and to follow where you're going to be performing?
Follow me on Instagram at Shira Music, Shira Music. And my website is shiraofficial.com. I'll be posting everything on Instagram. And and I hope to see, and there's a show in New York. If you have a lot of New York listeners, March 23rd is the last show of the tour at Rockwood Music Hall. Would love to see you there.
Shira Averbuch, thank you. And if you're in the market for a ukulele, check out Kala Ukuleles as well. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson